Hello, my name is Aliya Boubard and I am the curator here at the Bill Reid Gallery of Northwest Coast Art. On view now is our feature exhibition George Clutesi, featuring a selection of George Clutesi's artwork as well as featuring the artwork of several contemporary artists and scholars. So George Clutesi was born on Vancouver Island and he lived in Port Alberni for the majority of his life. And this had a huge impact on him and his identity. He was also a residential school survivor. So due to the fact that he was sent to residential school, it really ingrained in him a sense of wanting to continue to preserve his cultural identity as a Nuu-chah-nulth individual and wanted to pass that down to the next generations in order for the culture to not be forgotten. So the feature of a lot of his artworks is really, you would see wolves, whales, and thunderbirds, and those are very big and important figures within Nuu-chah-nulth culture. Whaling is an incredibly important part of the culture on the west coast of Vancouver Island, played a huge part in the culture of Nuu-chah-nulth people, as well as wolves and thunderbirds were also just something that you would see quite often within the culture and would be talked about within the ceremonies that they did. He really preserved the culture and passed that down through the next generations, through all of his art, and that was really a big inspiration as to why he created so many of the artworks he did. He really wanted to solidify the teachings that he was taught and then pass that down through his artwork to the next generation. He was an artist, but he was also so many other things. He was an author. He wrote and published 3 books throughout his life. He was an actor as well. He starred in several different films. But in addition to that, he was also an educator. He was an activist. He actively spoke out against the potlatch ban, which occurred throughout his lifetime. And a lot of people within his life or within his family say that his role as a custodian at the Port Alberni Residential School was actually one of the most important things that he accomplished throughout his life, not just because of the job itself, but because of what he was able to, of the children who were attending the residential school at that time and the impact that he had on them. He was a very positive role model and encouraged the children to practice their culture, even despite the fact that they were attending this residential school. While he was the custodian at the Port Alberni Residential School, he was able to interact with the children who were attending the school at the time, and those survivors remember the impact that Clutesi had on them growing up. He was able to show them care and love and attention in a way that they were definitely not receiving while they were attending residential school. And that had a lifelong lasting impact on them as individuals, and they remember that to this day. A feature part of this exhibition is the film which talks about the survivors, and they share their experiences with George, and they just remember his love and kindness, and that really helped them kind of get through the horrible traumas that they faced while they were attending school. So some of the artists that we have featured in this exhibition are Hjalmar Wenstob, Timmy Masso, Marika Swan, Petrina Dizal, and they all have artworks within this exhibition that respond or are inspired by George Clutesi's artwork. And in addition to that, we also have 2 scholars, Timmy Masso and Don Smith, who have artworks in this exhibition that were actually inspired by some of the writings that George Clutesi produced throughout his life, some of the books that he had written. So they were able to read the books and then create a response out of what they had read. He had a huge part in inspiring the next generation of artists who came after him. Even though it's been almost 40 years now since he's passed, he continues to inspire artists who are practicing on the coast today, especially Nuu-chah-nulth artists who are practicing now.